Extra Credit Fridays highlights our most mind-blowing moments of real wisdom and practical advice from our amazing guests. So get ready to raise your personal and professional GPA in just a few quick minutes. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the podcast. And I know you guys are used to how Extra Credit Friday go, right? Like, they're pretty much some of the most iconic conversations where we revisit, we bring you this endless amount of wisdom in 5 minutes or less. But today, we're going to do something different, right? This episode right here is something special. You guys have been following me for quite some time. If you have, you know we launched an IG-only live series called Coronavirus Now What, where I've been able to talk to some of the biggest entrepreneurs and business owners throughout the entire country. And we've been doing it for 6 weeks. This particular episode today has been one of the most iconic, popular, loved conversations we've had on the platform. And for those of you that have been with us with Patreon, and that is the community where we give you all these bonus episodes, these behind the scenes, these exclusives, you've had the opportunity to watch this weeks ago. And for those of you guys who want to know more about Patreon, we've also made the commitment to go visit schools and give books to underserved communities throughout the country. So definitely check that out in the show notes right below. Today's episode, we are going to give you the IG Live we had with the one, the only Dr. Mathew Knowles. And if you've been under a rock or have no idea who this guy is, he's the father to Beyoncé and Solange Knowles, some of the biggest music celebrities in the world. And if you also know, we've had him on the show on episode 97. And I'll be honest with you guys, it was the most downloaded episode we have ever had on day one. Crazy, right? And we've had some amazing people, all right? Amazing is an understatement for the people we've had on the show, but it was the most downloaded episode in episode 97. So it's only right we give you more of just him, but more of the wisdom and more of a conversation face to face. Sit back and enjoy episode 104 with the legend, the one and only Dr. Mathew Knowles. It's down a little bit because it's about to get real legendary. We're waiting to connect with Mr. Knowles.
Hey,
Mr.
Shawn.
Knowles, what's going on?
So Shawn, I have my producer in my ear.
Yeah.
So let me tell my producer, one of my staff members, he knows I'm on now. That's pretty cool. Production value here.
Look, I got to give you the high production value, man. It's only right, man. This is so iconic right now to have you sitting with me during these moments, during this time. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're tuning in right now, send us to 10 people. We got a legend on the live right now, man. I'm glad you're on.
Hey, thank you, Shawn. Thank you so much. How was your day today?
Man, it was crazy, man. You know, I actually managed to get a haircut. I know that's been really hard, been really rare to pull off. I was capable of pulling that off today, man. So I got a little lucky.
Well, guess what? I gave myself a haircut.
Let's see how you did. Okay. Not too bad.
See, we're learning how to adapt, Shawn. So I gave myself a haircut right before I came on.
Hey, man, we got to, man. Like, you take the sides up real nice and everything, man. So
I put my safeties on. I went back. I went forward. I took my little clipper, and trimmed up the mustache. So
man,
we get there.
I definitely understand that. So, look, I'm excited for this because everybody that's tuning in right now, we all know, who you are, right? You're the father to two of the biggest superstars on the planet, Beyoncé and Solange. We all know that. You also manage the #1 group, I would say, in the world, Destiny Child. But right now, you're on this live to have a topic discussion about something that has impacted everybody, and that's the coronavirus. So since the coronavirus has hit, like, how has that impacted your everyday moves?
Well, in so many ways, Shawn. How much time do we have today? Because it's so much I could say.
You got an hour? I got an hour. You got an hour?
Yeah, I have an hour.
Let's do
So,
it.
I literally just was watching TV and watching the news, and was talking about what education will look like in the future. I'm a college professor. This is my 12th year. And it was pretty much, what I'm hearing, unfortunately, is the classroom probably won't be fall of this year in most colleges and universities. It'll be online and e-learning. But I was listening to a president of a university, and he was saying, we have to, as parents, also reassess what's the return on investment. And he used, for example, if you're going to be a school teacher, you don't have to go to Harvard to do that. It might not be the best return on investment. So you have to look at the type of positions that you want in life, the type of career that you look. I think we'll see e-learning where someone just want to learn a course. I actually be presenting that to Knowles Institute for the music industry and entrepreneurship. But I think every aspect of my life has changed. And it's not all in a bad way, Shawn. Some of it is really positive because, again, I'm about change. I'm about adaptation. So I don't take it like some people do. So when I look at my company, we were already in the process of downsizing. So we are now even downsizing and looking to downsize even more. I had this big, huge office. I don't need that anymore. So, when we start looking at entrepreneurship and how do you instantly have profitability, you instantly reduce your expenses. It's as simple as that, right?
Yeah.
Rather than put a lot into marketing. And so the way I eat today is different. Food is delivered. Then we have to go through a process of making sure that we are cleaning and profusely cleaning. I can't think the way that folks will go to church in the future, I think will change. We next to each other in pews, and I don't think you'll see social distance. I believe will be with us in the future. And just think, had we were washing our hands more and distancing more, I think we would probably have had less of a lot of things happen to us in life. So, I'm just looking at it differently, Shawn.
Yeah, I think that's a good perspective to have. Somebody right now is watching this and they're trying to figure out how to adapt and they're struggling with change. You've had to shift many things in your business in the past. What would you say to that person right now that's struggling to adapt to this change?
Well, change is part of growth. And I think if they view it as adversity as an opportunity, we often don't look at adversity as opportunity, but it really is. And often we internalize things because how we grew up. I've seen so much change. I'm 68 years old, Shawn. I've seen change growing up as a kid, being the only black kid in a white classroom and having to adapt to that. I've seen the Vietnam War and seeing my brother in Vietnam, and every time there was a knock on the door at night, my mother would send me to the door because she thought my brother had died in Vietnam. I've seen 9/11. I was actually in New York. I've seen the music industry change. We used to do this thing called 8-track when I was a kid. Then it went to a cassette. Then it went to a CD. Now we're in streaming. Change will be a part of our lives and growth. That's a given. Anybody that think that they're going to stay constant is a fool. Change is inevitable.
It's crazy. And I think that's so true because a lot of companies right now are going to have to shift their perspective. When I immediately think about change, a lot of people think about Blockbuster, right? Blockbuster had the opportunity to buy a Netflix, but they couldn't adapt to that change. Right now, what are some trends that you're seeing that someone watching this right now
pick up on, maybe I need to shift, maybe I need to pivot? What are some changes you see happening in the future based off of this happening right now?
Well, I just named one in education.
Yep.
I just named another in gatherings for spiritual. I think the music industry will go under a major change. I don't think we'll see major concerts anytime soon. I think in every aspect, how we travel, I think we'll be wearing a mask. At least I know I will be wearing a mask. Not when this is over, and I do believe it will be over. I think it's foolish, absolutely foolish, what I'm hearing from the politicians politicizing the coronavirus is idiotic to me. This is about saving lives first, jobs second, and there was very little planning. We should have been planning, organizational planning for this years ago. President Bush actually began the dialogue about viruses and what we should do. There's an old saying, failure to plan is planning to fail. We're right now in a crisis mode, but we can't look back. No, we can't look back at what we should have, could have, would have. The only thing I say look back on is Black people, you should have voted. And life would have been different. And by the way, why is it, Shawn, there's no leaders saying we have a major opportunity now, rather than getting all day on your social media and watching TV? Some of you haven't registered to vote. And there's this thing called online voting. What an opportunity. You're sitting there. It's a simple fill out, go online and register to vote. That's something we can do now. Some of you have businesses. How about planning ahead? What is your marketing strategy? I worked 12 hours for the last 20 days 25 days this has started. I take breaks in between. I take breaks. I take 2-hour break here, spend with my wife, 2-hour break there. I don't do it consistently, so it's 6, 7 hours. I was talking to Ethiopia today. I was talking to London today. What we do is international, but there's opportunity for people. There's those artists, those people that are writers. What a better way to write a story, write a poem, write a song. For those that are musicians, what a better way to practice now if you have an instrument. For those of you, there's so many opportunities to hone in our crafts, rather than just sitting around and being, bored all day and being anxious all day. There's opportunity, and then when we look at what's happening to Black America, I want to read something from Kamala Harris. She said, Black people have gravitated to the middle class in healthcare, transportation, government, and food supplies, which are now deemed essential. We went from, that's our now middle class for Black America, those essential jobs. And then when I look at some of the factual things that are happening, I have a whole fact sheet page here. And it talks about, first of all, can I go to school for a minute? Shawn,
take us all the way to school. That's why we're here. That's why we're here.
I'm a college professor, so if I'm sounding
take us there. This is school over now. What version?
Class, I am lecturing in class right now.
Take us there.
You look at the 328 million people that live in the United States of America. So we make up Blacks 13% of that. Hispanics right at 18%. Whites like 72%. So look at those numbers, 13% for Black folks. But then we look at this coronavirus and we're at the 35, 40%. You look at Michigan with a population of 14%. And then there's 35% of all the cases in Michigan, 40% of all the deaths in Michigan. I mean, we look at New York City, we look at the deaths, Hispanics, 29%, actually brown people. This is not just a Black person, this is a Black and brown. So we look at 25% of the population, and 34% of the deaths were Hispanics and people, brown people, our brothers and sisters. But then we have to look at poverty in America. So then we make up 21% black people, but then we talked about what our population is. So we're 13% of the population, but we make up 21% of poverty. And what is poverty? Poverty is a family of four in America that makes around $26,000. That's right at that and below is considered poverty. Then let's look at mortality. In 2017, black folks made up 23% of heart disease, 20% of cancer, 6% of strokes. Then let's look at the murder rate in America. In 2018, there was 6,088 white murders, 7,407 murders. Do you see what's really going on in America? And I often don't think we really are getting the knowledge and information rather than what we see on social media. And we have to understand that that doesn't reward truth or fact. Social media is not about truth and facts. It's about likes.
Wow. Guys, you listen to this right now. I want y'all to know how much knowledge Mr. Knowles just gave us. I need y'all to put up a flame emoji if you just realize how much knowledge Mr. Knowles just gave us there. And it's so crazy. Why do you think the numbers are stacked so against us?
Well, it goes back to slavery, Shawn. My second book is Racism from the Eyes of a Child. And then my third book is The Emancipation of Slaves Through Music. But it talks about that journey, that 2.5 year journey to America. We as slaves, it is incredible what we endured to even just get here. And then once we got here, it was just a structure, a devastating structure that we had that just kept us in this complete racist in every way. I call it structural racism. That's the word that I use, structural racism. When I look at those things, we look at the number of white district attorneys, how many of our young brothers and sisters go to jail. I tried to call today, and I will call again tomorrow. I don't have a whole lot of money, but I wanted to help some sisters that's in Houston, in jail, that just didn't have the money to get $1,000 bill. And there's so much we can do rather than sit around and complain all day. But there's things that we can do that can help our fellow brother and sister, our fellow man. There's things that we can do. And when I look at this, let me tell you what I've learned. I thought I never would see a black president. I grew up in Gaston, Alabama. I just never thought I'd see that. But I did. I was able to live and see that. A great man, President Obama. But then I thought, well, I could never be president because I never went to law school. I never did politics. And now for the first time, hell, I could actually be the president of the United States.
Yes.
Because, look, you don't in any business go out. So right now what we're doing is telling people to go back to work. And we told people to go home, and I think that was good. And I think that was the right thing. But what were people going to do? What were we going to do? We can't go to work. I already talked about the poverty level, and even those that have lots of money. I know folks with a lot of money that own number of restaurants that had to let go of 45,000 people. So this is not just a black and brown. It's everybody when it comes. But we had no plan. Some people hadn't gotten that bailout that we came up with to help Americans go through this period. You know what? It was a simple thing that could have happened. The government we should not be paying for car notes, house notes, any type of bill. Credit cards, the government has the power to say, stop. Americans aren't going to pay those for 4 years. You put it on the back end. You have a 24-month car note, add 4 more months to it. You got a house note, you're going to do a 20, 30-year mortgage. What is 3 or 4 more months to it?
Not
Add
a difference
to the
at all.
credit card. Send folks money to buy food. So I don't have to worry about a bill. I'm not forced to have to go back to work, which I think is a terrible idea. I think we're going to be in a phase 2 epidemic coming back because we're doing this way, way, way too soon. I think if we had just given it another 30 days to, June 1st or July, to let this get really behind us. I'm certainly willing to make that sacrifice to make sure that my grandkids don't ever have to go through this again. I'm absolutely, and that's how we have to look at it. This ain't about me. This is about my grandkids and their kids, that they don't have to go through this. My grandkids, they are all grandkids, not just my little children, 3, 4 years old, are frightened. They don't understand what's happening. They think the world is coming to an end. That could have been an easy solution. Then
great advice. I think definitely.
I don't know. So this is my thing. So if we should go back to work, then I want the White House to go back to work.
They ain't going.
No. If that's fear, then show by example. I want the White House to go back to work.
They're not. They're not going at all.
Well, that's no harm in going back to work. So let's see the White House. I want to see the Texas state capitol, who came out with this 3-structure plan to phase 1. The folks going back in the day before, it was a 6% increase in the coronavirus in Texas. I don't get it. Maybe I am so terribly wrong, and I'll be the first to say, and I hope I'm so terribly wrong, but there's a thing called social courage. And let me tell you what that is. You remember those teenage kids in Parkland High School, and they had that shooting? These were teenage kids, what I call social courage. They had the courage to speak up and speak out about gun laws. They made a movement happen in America.
Worldwide.
We're too afraid to speak up and speak out about our beliefs, and have the social courage to say, I believe this is wrong. I have a platform. You've given me a platform tonight, Shawn. I'm going to say, and that might be a price for me saying what my social courage is. But I've been beaten. I've been spit on. I've been electrocuted. So I'm going to exercise my social courage tonight and say what I think is wrong with all of this. By the way, Shawn, if we're going back to work and we have to social distance, how the hell do we get on an elevator?
It's not happening. One at a time.
Wait, let me just see. So you have a 80-floor building, thousands of people. How do we all get on the elevator?
Somebody better take the stairs.
But has anybody thought of that, though? Something as simple as that. Has someone thought it through?
Not at all. I think what you're touching on right now, and I want to go back to something, because I think you hit home for a lot of people when you were talking about racism. And you experienced a lot. And I know you experienced a lot in the music industry. What racism stood out as you were developing and making all those different, songs and moving with so many different people with Destiny Child? How did you guys experience racism from budgets, things like that?
Well, you just hit on it, Shawn. You just hit on it. I had 2 white bands, a girl group called Play. They were from Sweden, white girl group that I managed at Columbia Records. I had a boy band, Signature, that I manage and actually have them on my record label. And I can tell you that the budgets were different. Absolutely were different. The advance was different. The recording budget was different. All the budgets were different. And I understand that because they were going after the general population, which is one of the reasons why I made sure that with Destiny's Child and Beyoncé, that we went after the general population and we didn't pigeonhole ourselves as an urban group. So does that exist? You know, we have to, again, we internalize how we think. And it's,
what were some ways around that? So Destiny Child obviously blew up. So the budget, someone's listening right now, they want to learn your strategy. They want to learn your mindset. What was one of the strategies? Could you share one of the strategies you might have done to go beyond the budget and think differently to get them exposure?
So let me tell you why I hesitate. I hesitate because the college professor in me say if we go from coronavirus to the music industry, we lose a lot of people that are viewing us right now. I'm okay with that, but I'm a marketing guy.
Yeah,
I know that there's some people that tune in, and you might can see the numbers. I just want to make sure that I'm okay with transitioning to another topic, but just so we might lose some people. And I'm not sure I said all I damn wanted to say about the coronavirus.
Oh, we got a lot to go with that.
We're going to come back to that?
Yeah, we definitely will. I'm looking at some of these questions right now. We got a lot to go with that.
Okay, so I want everybody to tune in and don't leave us because we're going to come back to that.
Definitely
I like reading some of the comments. So I just 1 second, I see Carl, this is awesome. Somebody, I can't say that, saying, make me a star, please. Laughing out loud, that's Mr. Knowles, or it can be Dr. Knowles as well. Or, I often, people just know me for the Destiny Child music part of me. They don't know the corporate America side that I can kind of relate to in some ways, because I did 20 years of diagnostic imaging. So I can understand when we're talking about testing and a challenge, because you have different machines, you have different types of tests, then the type of machine that you have is that type of test is a different vial, a different swab, a different reagent. I understand all of that. So we have a lot of machines and a lot of tests, but then we don't have a lot of reagents. So it's a lot of people don't understand that there's another part of me that my passion is education, man. Even as a manager, I educated my artists, and that's key to me, is that folks get knowledge and don't just depend on social media. That they really get true knowledge, not blogs, not people emotional, not factual. I'm a research guy. I spend half of my day researching stuff, researching mortality rates, researching poverty rates, understanding a deeper side, so I can speak from a place of knowledge and not emotions. That's who I am. Knowledge. Somebody once said the other day that I should rename myself Mathew Knowledge.
I like that.
Knowle, which is in Knowles. Take off the S, EDGE, knowledge.
I like that.
Solange Knowledge. Beyoncé Knowledge.
I mean, it shows. I mean, it shows so much. I think the knowledge that you have and how, you've taken that knowledge and it shows on your family, which I think is important for someone to grasp right now. There's a lot of family right now. I know me in general, there's a lot of dads who have their daughters at home. They're trying to learn how to teach them, right? They're trying to learn because of the coronavirus, how can they, deal with some of these educational terminologies they haven't had to say in a very long time. You're a father who has definitely done well at teaching. What would you say to that parent right now who's trying to learn things they haven't had to learn in a while, so their kid continues from an educational level.
Well, the beautiful thing about education today, and I always say in the 12 years that I've been a college professor, in that classroom and even now online, there's another professor. Her name, Professor Google. You don't have to spell something right. You know, you don't even have to say the sentence grammatically correct. You can find information, you can share it with your child at any level, elementary level, a middle school level, a high school level, a collegiate level, and you can learn and share that knowledge together today. That's a beautiful thing, knowledge. Knowledge is what helps us reduce all those numbers that I said. When I talk about deaths and poverty and mortality, you know, I've been on this whole thing. Not a lot of people were listening when I was on Good Morning America and Dr. Oz, talking about early detection. You know, I've been saying that since 1980, when I sold Zero Radiography. I've been talking about early detection of breast cancer since then. I've been talking since 1988 when I was an MRI and CT specialist, when I was a neurosurgical specialist. Early detection, but it's a vicious circle for us because the person that would do early detection has to have money, right?
Yes.
Has to have knowledge. You know, you're more apt if you have a heart disease or cancer or high blood pressure or any of those mortality that ironically we lead in the categories. So when we hear about the coronavirus, then it's no surprise that we would have a higher rate because we have unfortunately, the worst health. And so, but I'm going to tell you what's amazing. I researched today, Shawn. You know, Africa, which is 1.2 billion people of our brothers, and we're talking about 328 million people in America. So you can almost add another billion people to America, and that would be the population of Africa. They only have had 23,000 cases in the whole continent.
Why do you think that's the case?
And they've only had something like 1,200 deaths. And I don't know if it's because the data is incorrect, but I just find it fascinating that a continent like that could have such a small number.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, it is. I don't understand it. But today has been one of my research days, and that's all I do some days, man. I just research stuff. That's why my first book is The DNA of Achievers. There's an actual DNA now that I think that goes with achievement. I mean, look at sports, and you look at key athletes and how their kids become key athletes, and then their kids become. I think the intellectual model is that as well. If we surround our kids with knowledge, then they turn out very knowledgeable. So I think there is a DNA with achievement and achievers.
I think as also too as a black man, I'm pretty sure some black men are watching this right now. We struggle with going to the doctor or setting up doctor visits, and there's a lot of hesitation behind that. Why do you feel like as a black man, some of us do struggle with setting up those appointments and getting those early detections?
Well, I think it has a combination of things. I think we feel that you know, a lot of black men are working very, very hard, 1 and 2 jobs, and don't understand the importance of going to the doctor for early detection. That feel that we're invincible, that, you know, this is not for us, it's a weakness. We wait till it hurts. I can tell you, anything when you wait till it hurts, that's not a good sign. You don't want to feel pain. You want to find it early. I was fortunate when I had my male chest cancer that I found it stage 1A. And that's what you want. We're all going to have, challenges in our lives. We want to find, even in our personal and professional lives. And I had to learn some things the hard way. I'm not the person sitting here and say, hey, I've been perfect all of my life. The difference is when I do something, everybody knows. And when I don't do something, people make it up because people believe what they hear in social media. And then, one of the things I hope we learn as a culture of people, we're our worst enemies. But we were taught that in slavery to be our worst enemies. We were taught in slavery to tell on one another, to hate one another, to be jealous because one was working in the big house. We were taught that jealousy and envy. When we look at, I want to go over a stat that I have here. Poverty in America. So I'm looking at some stats here because I wanted to look up and make sure I'm factual. So the Asian population is 14%, but it's 7% of the deaths. And when we look at the poverty in America, it's 14% population, but less than 10% of poverty level. It's a cultural thing for us. We've been taught culturally not to support each other, to hate each other, to envy each other's successes. Like I say all the time, the worst articles, the worst thing that's been said about me and my family is not white people, it's black people.
Ooh.
It's not white people. It's, the black radio, my friend Wendy, she's got a lot better. I have to say, Wendy, I think you have to learn that you're vulnerable because in our vulnerability lies our safety. And I'm proud to see that she's learned that because I've always said the best Wendy Williams is not going to be that Fox, programming. It's going to be the real, and now we get to see the real of her. But I know I got off topic. I have a lot of. I actually like Wendy Williams. People look at me like, huh? I actually like her. I don't have that. I want to see our people succeed. I don't want to see us fail. And how I can help another brother or sister, I'm willing to do that. And I think we have to humble ourselves. And I think a lot of things have to change. And I think, the core belief of black folks comes from religious values. I think the church has to change in black America. It can't be the walls anymore. It has to be more than that. I think a lot of things has to change. And that's why, there's the opportunity and adversity for opportunity. And that's what I think, hopefully, that comes out of all of that, that we're better. We're better in every aspect of our lives because of this. Not in spite of it. Because of it, not in spite of it.
You're dropping a lot of gems right now. Guys, I need to see some interaction here. Drop a flame emoji. If you are being impacted right now, drop a flame emoji for all the knowledge Dr. Knowles is bringing right now to this live. Man, this is incredible. I think one thing that you touched on that I want to talk about.
I just want to say, please, a fellow cancer survivor tackles. I just want to acknowledge that person. By the way, and I'm sorry to interrupt you, but before I forget, I always want to say thank you. I want to say thank you to all of the early responders. I want to say thank you for every doctor, every nurse that it's like a fireman running to a blaze every day and just working till they're about to drop, putting their lives at risk and not even thinking about it because they're there just to help people. And I just want to say thank you. And I want to acknowledge, all of them for what they do and what they are doing.
By far, they're risking their lives. They have families. Some of them are being quarantined away from their family. So all first responders, even the grocery store workers out there, the world couldn't even operate without you. So I definitely agree. We have to thank them without a doubt. You mentioned something that I think also is important as well, and that is how are the churches going to operate? You know, I've watched due to the coronavirus, I've seen a lot of churches and religions struggle with getting online, struggle with doing like me and you're doing, having these conversations. They seem a little uncomfortable. What would you say to that person right now that's having a hard time going through the coronavirus and missing their church family or missing that interaction?
Well, I walk very lightly on spirituality, and I try to stay away from anything that's just a definition of I'm better than you. I try to stay away from that. I live in a spiritual world. I believe that a power greater than myself exists, and I try to work with that. And it took me a while to get there. But I do know that spirituality is what drives me. I can't speak for someone else's belief, but for someone, and I respect that. I often tell people that there's, again, when I start researching, and 30% of the slaves that came to America were Muslims.
Game changer.
So, that's just a lot of interesting information. I just think the walls have to let down, and it has to be about faith, not about competition, one building versus the other. And we have to tell people, unfortunately, I've read today there's been a number of ministers, black and white, who have died in the last month because their belief is that, science is not that important. I tend to differ with that. Again, I did 20 years of diagnostic imaging. I think science, along with faith, is a combination. I don't think one without the other. I think they both are tangible together, faith and science. And I would just caution anyone that just think it's one without the other.
Yeah. Dr. Knowles, we have on this podcast right now, this live, I know we have a lot of students that are watching, and you're a professor. You teach a lot of students right now. Some of those students won't be able to walk across the stage. They won't be able to shake or hug that relative this year. What words of advice or encouragement would you have for those that are dealing with those thoughts right now?
Well, first and foremost, I have to acknowledge my students at Prairie View A&M, my senior class at Prairie View A&M, I taught this semester. We have a joint professorship where two professors teach the class. I elected to teach the first semester. I'm glad I did. So I got to spend the classroom time with my students in entrepreneurship there at Prairie View A&M. They were 95% seniors who all wanted to be entrepreneurs. So I want to acknowledge them first and foremost, Prairie View A&M, my students there. And I know I can only imagine the sadness of going 4 years, the excitement of walking across that stage and making your parents proud and making yourself good. That's a real challenge. It's interesting. My mother, boy, I don't know what that was about. Maybe my mother, when you put that red cup, that's what she used to do. Have a red cup. She was like, here, boy, here's that red cup. Last week I was talking and my wife said, oh, you want some water? And she gave me a red cup. I said, baby, I can't be drinking out no red cup. I had to divert on that, son. Life in my classroom, and life shouldn't all be serious. We should learn. I laugh at myself sometimes. I'm not that serious. People think I am, but I'm not. I don't take life that serious. I can have fun with it. So thank you for letting me have some fun with it, too.
Had to.
You could be an Omega man. You know that, right?
I could be a makeup man?
Omega.
Omega.
Yeah, you know, I don't know if you can see it. You probably can't see it. It's probably too much light. You can't see it. But
Oh, the Mega Man. Okay, okay.
see that
I
cute
see. I see
animal.
it.
You see it? You see that cute?
I see it.
The
Can
one
you,
head?
you still got the
Mega
dance
Man.
down? All right. All
Yeah.
right. I see
All
it.
the makers in the house.
Hold
Let
on. I
me
see
make some noise, Q's. I'm gonna hear some Q's. Make some noise. Any
it.
Q's in the house? Come on.
I saw my boy Trails up in here earlier. So I got you on live, and a lot of people are excited that you're doing this right now. We got sent a lot of questions. You got time for some questions?
I would love questions.
All right, so let's do this. So I'm gonna hope I don't hit the wrong button.
Hey, don't you? I'm learning as I go. A month ago, I was fighting this, and now I've embraced it. I see my lights going in and out. I bought me a whole light kit. I got 3 lights here
You got
in my living room.
you got 3 light kits? Are you ready for this?
When I do it, I go hard. I don't want to be just in the game. I want to play and win. What was
As
your
you
greatest
should.
gain? What was your greatest gain continuing in corporate America while still being
An
an
entrepreneur.
entrepreneur? I transitioned. I transitioned. There's a word, since we're going to a classroom, that's called intrapreneur. There's an entrepreneur and an intrapreneur. An intrapreneur is when you work in an organization or you work in corporate America and you're a branch manager or a district manager or even just a salesperson or individual, but you operate like you own the company. That's called intrapreneurship. So when I was in the 20 years of corporate America, not only was I an entrepreneur in the 80s when my former wife and friend today, Tina, when we opened our hair salon for 17 years, I did the business, she did the creative. Does that sound familiar?
Yep.
I did the business, she did the creative. That
Exactly.
started in 1982 in our family.
Wow.
So I also was an entrepreneur and as well as an intrapreneur. So it came together. And you could transition. I didn't quit corporate America. I had a goal that I wanted to do 20 years of corporate America. And I fulfilled that goal and I transitioned and started looking for my passion in life. And we all at some point have to transition because we're now in a job rather than our passion. Because when you live your passion, I've said it over and over, when you live your passion, you never work a day, a minute, a second in your life. I was excited. I'm going to tell you something, Shawn. I was an hour early.
It was an hour early?
I was an hour early. I said, I'm so excited. I was excited because I loved it. I love giving back. I love sharing my knowledge and my mistakes and failures, and I love that. That's
Man, we need it. We need it. I think right now when we got people like you that's still walking on this planet, we have to absorb your knowledge. We have to figure out, we have to take as much of it as possible so that we can impact families, generations. So the fact that you're on live right now, you're adapting to this change is highly appreciated because I know through these comments, guys, you can drop flames, drop a flame emoji if I'm right. Right now, you're giving us that. You're giving us that knowledge. So I appreciate you for that. And I still got more questions in here. We gotta give
Hey,
people what they want.
I want you to ask the questions. I want to learn how you did that. So when Ashton, I know I have a young man, a star. He graduates. One of my staff members. He graduates from Texas Southern next month.
Yeah.
And he was in the degree program that I was fortunate to help create. I didn't do it by myself. Help create, called Entertainment Recording Management. He's the last class. I was at Texas Southern for 8 years. He's the last class for me, and he happens to work with me at Music World. So I want to know, Ashton, how did he get that question up because what Shawn doesn't know, I'm practicing right now. I'm learning right now because I believe in the book Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell, a black man from Canada, that to be an expert, 10,000 hours. So I'm going to become an expert at this, and I'm going to keep working at it and working at it because I fought the digital e-learning, online I was like, man, I don't want to teach online. Hell no. I want to be in the classroom. Well, I'm in the classroom right now and love it. The only difference, I don't have just 35, 50 students. I have the world.
That's how it should be. You know, you can always call me too. Hold on, let me hit this button. Got more questions. All right. Here's a good one, especially with your corporate background. Comes from Martine. She wrote, what are 3 things that helped you pivot in management?
That could be an interesting answer because help you pivot in management. One thing for me was I will always give Xerox Corporation. It was the best training. I was young, 1978. Y'all wouldn't even thought about most of you. When I was at Xerox Corporation, and the training that they gave me in marketing and management and sales has been just, I've always used the core principles. So that was one. And the education, you know, going back and taking more management courses. But you also have to learn from experience. Because that's one of the best teachers, because failure and mistakes are an opportunity to grow, not a reason to quit. We often, we quit the first time we have a little failure. So, through failures, I've grown and changed management style. Also, what's happening inside of my business sphere. What's happening, for example, in the record industry. I make sure that I'm aware early on the transitions and that's about to happen. I pay attention. I read every morning information about the music industry. So whatever your craft is, if you're a manager, you have to see it coming. You don't want to always be reactive as a manager. You want to be proactive as a manager, not react. And we are seeing reactivity right now.
Yeah.
We're not being proactive about the coronavirus. We're being reactive about the corona. That's not good management ever.
So Instagram right now, Mr. Dr. Knowles is telling us we have 1 minute and 33 seconds remaining. So
Boy, you better be glad, Instagram, that you can say that. Because I was in a classroom, I'd be like, the hell with that. We're going to continue.
Guys, let us know in the comments, because we still have a couple more questions. Dr. Knowles, if you have maybe about 5 minutes, we can end the live and hop back on it again. That's fine with you.
That's more than fine with me. We can go another 30.
Okay, that's great. All right, so guys, here's what we're going to do. This is so good. I don't want to lose it. Have about 60 seconds left. We're going to end the live, and then we're going to reconvene the live right where we finished off at. And Dr. Knowles will request and be right back with us, all right?
Hey guys, so let me take a guess. You're enjoying the show. And if that's right, please make sure that you take a screenshot of you listening to the podcast right now and tag me at Shawn R. Anthony _. I promise you this is going to help in amazing ways. And while you're at it, hit the 5-star rating and subscribe. With that being said, guys, let's get back to the show.
All right, waiting for Dr. Knowles to come back on the live. We back.
I had to go to my producer.
You good?
I was talking to my producer again.
I mean, I'm glad you're back on. Instagram tried to stop us. They wouldn't let us be great.
Bandy, it's all about tenacity. Let me just share. That just brings up something. Sometimes we don't have this energy that we need of doing things now. We just don't have the energy. We put things off. We don't have that immediate. We need it done now. I have a sense of urgency with everything I do, Shawn. And I found people that I know are successful have a sense of urgency. You know, my friend of mine's called the other day, last night actually. He says, "Well, did you get your check? You know, the PPP check, you know, payroll protection plan?" I said, "Well, I got it Wednesday." He says, "Well, I was calling because he's in finance." So he says, some people, they hadn't turned their paperwork in yet. They didn't have a sense of urgency.
It's crazy. You gotta have that sense of urgency, man. I think that's what separates people. Whenever I'm working with somebody, I'm to the point, and I know you are too, where if it doesn't get done as fast as I want it to get done, I just do the job myself.
You know, I've learned to, and I've learned now through this how to do another phase of my life. I think it goes back to the young lady's question as effective manager.
Yeah.
I first think training becomes important, that the team has the proper training and information. But I delegate. There's some things that I know I don't do very well. And I'm smart enough to know that I don't do them well. And I surround myself with people that do them extremely well. Administrative stuff, I don't do well. I don't do well at all. Tedious kind of stuff, I'm a big picture person. I need people around me that can implement and execute an idea for me. So I don't try to do it. And I just, you know, you can get more done, Shawn, when you're not trying to do it all yourself.
Yeah. I mean,
just wisdom talking.
I'm with you all the way. You know, I take any of your wisdom you give me. All right, so let me scroll through.
You had a question up, and I didn't look at it.
Okay, let's go. Let me see.
I want to give a shout out to my wife. Today was the first day I got on her nerves. I just want to tell you I love you, Gina. Avery Knowles, I love you with all my heart. I'm so sorry that I got on your nerves today, and I know you're ready to go back because you like people and love people. You don't like them, and you know you miss your friends. And I know I want it warm in the apartment, and you want it cold in the apartment. And I'm going to work really hard on giving you the space. I'm going to wear a sweater, whatever I got to do. I know I get on your nerve about, did you make sure you sanitize and clean that? I know, but I'm just trying to save our lives, baby. Just trying to make sure we survive through this. I know I get on your nerve, but I will do better. Okay, as the mother of a son, in this day and age, how does a young man stand out as a man of integrity?
I'm seasoned.
Well, I had to learn. I used to think that I could be a man of integrity in my business life and not a man of integrity in my personal life. I think you all know what that got me. And I think it's tough. And I just want to just say we have some amazing Black women who's been the backbone of our Black culture. And I want to acknowledge that. Certainly my mother, my dad, I'm fortunate I had my mother and dad growing up. My wife had her mother and dad growing up. Unfortunately, with the world we live in today, that's not a lot of our Black young men. And it starts there. I would say to a mother of a son, please find a mentor that's a man that you trust, that you feel has that integrity. Find a man to mentor your son. I found a mentor in corporate America. I had a mentor growing up. And often it's as simple as asking. It's just that simple sometimes. That's the first thing I would say.
Good advice.
And by the way, I have to say one other thing. Black women, I know sometimes you feel a certain way about your former boyfriend, husband. But please, don't say that around your son. Don't say all that negativity. Raise your awareness around your son to a higher level. That pierces his heart and changes his soul. Find someone else to say that to, not in front of your son and your kids.
Man, that's some powerful real life stuff there too. And I 100% agree with you on that. Let's keep giving the people what they want, Dr. Knowles. They've loaded this thing up with questions, so I'm gonna keep giving them to you.
I love that. Y'all guys are getting it free tonight. Next time it won't be free.
It won't be free next time. Oh, this is a good one. This is a good one. I want to see what you said it is, because this is be interesting.
If he could go back to when he was 20 years old, what would he change moving forward or do differently? First and foremost, let me tell you, I'm the guy, I don't look in my rearview mirror. I think everything that happened was a learning experience, a layer of growth for me. But I will answer your question. I just personally don't do that. 20 years old, where was I? I was a basketball star in Gaston, Alabama at Gaston High School. I shared this story, and you can read it in my book, Racism from the Eyes of a Child. By the way, I have 5 books that's out. The DNA of Achievers, Racism from the Eyes of a Child, The Emancipation of Slaves Through Music, Media and Public Relations, and now Destiny's Child, The Untold Story. I, at 20 years old, was in Chattanooga, Tennessee as one of the first blacks, all through elementary, junior high, high school, one of the first blacks to integrate. One of the first blacks to integrate the University of Tennessee system. I was at the Chattanooga, about 18,000. So I was in Chattanooga at 20 years old. You know, I had to grew up in a little small town. Now in 18,000 students. Had a large learning curve to go, but I always knew what I wanted in life, Shawn. Even as a kid, I've had a job as young as I can imagine. When I was in the 3rd grade, I had my own candy company. I was selling candy to kids at St. Martin de Porres Catholic School, and got in trouble with the nuns once they found out I was selling candy. I worked all throughout high school. I was a lifeguard in high school. I did between high school and college to get to 20. I worked at Goodyear Tire and Rubber, curing flaps that goes between a truck tire, and the ovens will open at like 600-700 degrees. I worked 2 summers of that. I worked at 20 in Chattanooga with these beautiful carpets, and they would I had the forklift, and I would move the carpets onto the trucks and stuff. I've always had a job, but I always worked. That's where I was at 20. I was was playing basketball, just had pledged Omega Psi Phi. Back then it was different. Colleges gave privileges to athletes. I had my 98 Oldsmobile, and I was leaning, man. I had my green, long Superfly jacket with a yellow fur around it. Man,
You was styling.
Listening to Superfly and Isaac Hayes, man. That's what I was doing at 20. But I was also learning. I was taking courses like cultural anthropology I took in college at 20 years old. I was taking, economics. I have 4 degrees. I have undergraduate, and I transferred to my only black school in life at Fisk University. I got a degree in business administration, a degree in economics, went to a small Christian and Bible college in Indiana, Fort Wayne, Indiana, and a Cornerstone Christian and Bible College. Got my MBA from there. Then I got my PhD in business administration. So I believe in education, and that's what I was doing at 20. I was having fun, but I was working and I was learning, and I made mistakes like any 20-year-old would.
Of course, man. Let's see what we got here. You are giving them game tonight. Let's see. There's so many. Let's see. Let's scroll through. All right. Let's see. All right. I'm going to answer this one. I want you to tell them.
Do you still manage people? I think we manage people all our lives. I think we manage people and we sell to people. People first buy you and then your product. I have to manage in my company, my organization. I have to manage in my marriage. I have to manage my finances. We all constantly are managing. And those that understand how to manage effectively, they understand that in all aspects of our lives, Shawn, we're constantly managing. So that's yes. Just like in my lives, we work with teams throughout our lives, sales teams, all sorts of teams that we work with. So right. Very good question. These are extremely good questions, by the way, that's being asked.
It's very deep. I want you to, if you scroll through the comments, and we got a lot of comments, if you scroll through the comments, there's also people asking questions as well. Let's go with Gabby first. She said, what aspect of your parenting do you think contributed to your children's success?
Oh, great question. My kids, I say Tina is my former wife. I don't like the word ex-wife. I think that's very, very just harsh. I think there's a better, softer, gentler word, former wife. And I will also say in the same breath, Tina is my former wife and my friend then, my friend today. And our parenting skills were finding out what Solange and Beyoncé were passionate about. It wasn't what we were passionate wanting as a college professor. The sad thing is to see a student that's doing something. They're in college and they really want to be an artist, or they want to really be a doctor, or they really want it, but their parents say, you got to do this. We didn't do that to Solange and Beyoncé. Solange used to wear zigzag, crisscross stripes and plaids. That's always been her as a little kid. And we were like, go, Solange, you do that, girl. Giving her encouragement. We didn't say, that's the craziest shit I can imagine. Why you had that on? We didn't do that. We encouraged her. And look at her now. She's a fashionista and a tremendous artist and songwriter. Same with Solange. Beyoncé. Beyoncé gravitated, wanted to always sing, both of them. Our house was like always singing and dancing. We had to buy tickets and sing and dance. But we encouraged that. And we let them, I always tell parents, how do you know the difference between a hobby for your kids and their passion? Real simple. When I have to tell my kid to go to practice, it's a hobby.
Facts.
It's a hobby. As a parent, you need to know the difference. But I also supported my kids when the naysayers. I was on the school board of Beyonce's elementary school and did the typical parent-teacher meetings. Tina was working in a hair salon, so I had to do a lot of that and spend time with the girls on the weekend. And this teacher, I think in the 4th or 5th grade, Beyoncé had made a C- in math. And this teacher went on to tell me she don't understand why, Beyoncé and why we parents are spending all this time with her, this music. She ain't gonna never be a hill of beans in the music. That's crazy.
Oh, wow.
And I said, no, this is Beyonce's passion. I'm going to support it. You know, so you have to also be ready for the naysayers around you. But know your kids, support their dreams and their passions. But it can't be $1 million dream with a minimum wage work ethic.
Can't happen. It can't happen. They don't equal each other.
Because
Doesn't happen.
passion and work ethics coexist.
Gotcha. All right, we still got. Let's see. We have. All right.
What is your favorite book and why? I just said it earlier, and maybe you didn't wasn't on, but it's Outliers by Gladwell. Let me just tell you something about a Canadian brother. You know, Outliers has a lot of statistical data, and I think that's why. And it's about successful people and what are some of the things that they all do. So I'll tell quickly the story. So in Germany, and I forgot the city in Germany right now. I think it was Munich. It was Munich. This promoter, they were building this entertainment complex. And so it's 24 hours a day. So this promoter was looking for who was going to perform from 2 and 3 in the morning to like 7 and 8 in the morning. The worst time you could ever as an artist perform. People are drunk. You know, they throwing bottles, all kind of stuff. So he went out, this promoter, looking for the worst talent he could find, not the best, because he wanted to give the drunks and the people what they wanted, you know, something awful, so that they could be entertained by them being bad. He passed by this pub in London, and he heard this awful, awful rock band playing. And Malcolm Gladwell goes on to say in his book Outliers, and the promoter goes in and he sees this band. He says, "Hey," they were young kids. He said, "I'll pay you to come to Germany and pay you a little money," which was a lot of money to them. "And I want you to perform from 2 o'clock to 7 o'clock." Well, these kids didn't have any content. They only knew 2 or 3 songs. So they went to Germany, and then they had to learn 7 hours of content. So they performed rock songs, gospel songs, R&B songs, and they kept getting better and better and better and better. It was only this little rock band called the Beatles. They went from being awful to being great. Because A, they lived their passion, B, they put in the work, and they worked and worked on their craft. Folks, we often don't work on our craft. We want microwave success. It doesn't work like that. Microwave success is just that. It's success today, gone tomorrow.
It doesn't last long at all. Dr. Knowles, I'm going to allow for you to go scroll through the comments. Is there any questions that you want to pull out in particular?
How do I do that? I can go through those comments. So those ones with Professor Knowles always speaking knowledge. Those comments or the questions. I like the questions. But yeah, let's do some of the comments. Bun Keith, a passion. B, put it in work. Mr. Wealthy soon. Should I get rid of lady who tells my mother about every argument that we get into? She knows I hate it, but she does it because of that. She just want to get on your nerves, brother. Don't want to get on your nerves like that. Don't buy into that.
You can't have that happen.
Ophelia.
I see so Washington. Good.
How important is it for a black man to get a college degree? Let's stop there. I think that's a real important.
That's a great one. Let's go there.
I'm a college educator, and I've always said this. You know, there's some professions, and I think the coronavirus will actually make this change, some change. You know, there's some professions that I actually will say, if I want to be an artist, performing artist, entertainer, I'm not sure you need to go to college, because going back to Outliers in 10,000 hours, while you are in college, Beyonce is practicing. And that's who you're competing against. You're in a classroom. She's on a stage. That would be like you're in the junior high and LeBron's in the NBA. So there's certain things, if I want to be an electrician, I don't think I have to go to college to be the greatest electrician. I think I can take business courses. I think I can, absolutely, I got to learn how to be an electrician.
Gotcha.
I don't know if I have to go 4 years to college to be an electrician. That's my point. If I'm a hairstylist, I'm not sure I have to go to college to be that. I think I can go online and learn some craft and business acumen. It's going to always go down, regardless what you do. Creative and business go together. You can't have just a creative person that know nothing about business and try to open a business.
You're going to flop.
That normally equals failure.
Without a doubt. I'm still seeing a lot of comments. I see someone called you the GOAT.
No, somebody said so experienced before a degree. No, I'm saying they also coexist. It's called internship.
Mm.
You get experience while you're getting a degree. It's the most valuable class in college is internship. In the music industry, this is my 28th year. I sold my company in 2002, became Music World Sanctuary Urban, a whole division with over 120 employees back in 2002. See, people just know the Destiny's Child. For some reason, the Sanctuary, me, when I bought all of these successful managers who had artists named Mary J. Blige, named Nelly, named Eve, named Floetry, that I bought their manager's company and they all reported to me. People seem to forget that. That Earth, Wind and Fire, OJ, Shaka Khan, Kool and the Gang. I made their last album as their record label, not as their daddy, not as their manager, but as a record label executive. I think most people forget Beyonce's first 3 albums. I was the record label as well as the manager. I think people tend to forget that Solange's first 2 albums, I was the manager as well as the record label. I think people forget that Life Jennings I managed, that Nas that I managed. I think people forget that Mario I managed. I think people forget that I built a #1 gospel label with Trinity 5-7, with Leandra Johnson, who was in 2016, 17, 18, the #1 female gospel artist and won a Grammy on this beautiful song called Jesus. I think people, Brian Courtney Wilson, signed to my label. I think they don't know the plethora of stuff that I've done. And I've learned, I used to be real shy and laid back about telling my story, but if I don't tell my story, it'll be his damn story. His story, called history. I'm not gonna let that happen anymore.
Man, I need all the flame emojis you guys have on that one, because what you're telling people right now is you gotta talk that talk. Guys, if you feel all the knowledge Dr. Knowles is dropping tonight, I need to see as many flame emojis as possible just to show him the love, because I think a lot of times not only do people forget what you've done, but sometimes you gotta remind people. Like right now, people are listening to this right now. If you're doing something, you feel good about it, remind people what you have accomplished. You never want to go away from that.
I appreciate it, Shawn. I mean, if you look and read Destiny's Child, The Untold Story, you'll understand that the Beehive was created by Jeanette Everett, who worked for me.
I think people got to know those things. And so like, I mean, but not a concept
by Jeanette Everett.
So the whole so there's so many questions coming through here now that we're about to.
Yeah, you say Beyonce, boy, people get crazy.
Yeah, they're going berserk. Let me see.
Yeah.
Let's see. So here's a question. Here's a question that I seen pop up somewhere in the comments: is what would Destiny Child be doing right now if coronavirus had hit back in their prime? I saw something like that earlier, and I still see a lot of questions.
Well, I'm trying to think. We're talking from 1998
Yeah.
to about 2009 or 10. That's a long time. And I have to go back, and I can't pull up. I think 9/11 was what year? Might have been later. But there was something, I'm sure, going on. And we adapted, and we modified and altered what we were doing. Alter, adapt, and modify. I mean, we created a lot of first-time things in the music industry that people had never done before. They didn't understand. It was a record industry. I came from corporate America. So I always thought, look, if we're putting out an album, Sony's budget is, let's say it was $1 million for marketing. But wouldn't it be great if I could go to L'Oreal and get the song in a commercial, or get the artist and the song in a commercial, because L'Oreal spends $25 million for a commercial and marketing. And so we came with thinking outside of the box, because most of us have been conditioned to do things a certain way. And we don't even ask, why the hell are we doing this way? We just go and do it. They told me that's how we're supposed to do it. Why are you doing it? I don't know. They just told me how to do it. We need more of you to think outside of the box, to not engage and have box-in thinkers, I call them, in your box all the time. You constantly hitting walls all day long because you can't think outside of that box. And if you're a hater, you got a hater in the box with you, because whoever you are is who's in your box all day long. But if you step outside of that box, there's no walls. And we often live in a world of walls.
Yeah, without a doubt. I think right now is the time to eliminate all those walls. This is coronavirus. It's time to really think about what you can do. What I think right now, somebody's at home and they're about to create the next big thing, who has never had time alone with themselves. And now they have that time alone, and we're going to see some crazy ideas come from this.
Well, while they have that time alone, please go and register to vote.
Yes.
Go online and register to vote.
Dr. Knowles, I don't want to take up too much of your time. I still see a lot of questions in there. Is there anything in particular you want the people to know tonight? I seen someone ask, what's next for Dr. Knowles?
What's next for me is I'm writing books. I'm writing right now the revision of the DNA of Achievers. After that book, I've already started artist management. We're looking to start an e-learning opportunity of education called Knowles Institute that we'll have up and running soon. We're working on Destiny's Child. We're working on documentary and a video game and some other things where I use the brand, the trademark that I have the rights to, Destiny's Child. Those are the things that we are doing right now, and continue to educate and to motivate in entrepreneurship and music business, those two areas. I love to educate, teach. I love students, and I love this opportunity that's given. I'm a professional public speaker. And so if you're looking for someone to be a speaker for your occasion online, or once next year when we get back to normalcy, but online right now, you can certainly go to MathewKnowles.com. All that time before, Shawn, I'm not self-serving. I forgot to even tell people about going to my website. And they can find out, and they can buy books, and I'll sign the books even now. But I have a whole list of topics that I speak on, and it's Mathew is with one T. It amazes me that we're supposed to be in a journalistic society, but half of the articles are spelled incorrectly. When I grew up, that would have been unacceptable to have a journalist not spell names correctly. So go to MathewKnowles.com.
All right, so I'm gonna pin that comment because I'm gonna also talk to some people after the live about what their thoughts were. And that's Mathew Knowles, ladies and gentlemen. If you're listening right now, that's Mathew Knowles with the T.com. Let's see.
Well, I mean, to that point, also, when I was talking about journalistic, I think also the media has to let us come up with our own feelings. Let me give you an example. It's devastating. Millions of Americans are out of work. That's not up to you, the media, to tell me it's devastating. Let me come up with my own feeling and emotions. I just need you to tell me millions of Americans are out of work. At 9/11, people didn't say, it's devastating. A plane went into the World Trade Building. They just said, the news, a plane went into World Trade Center. So I challenge the media to take your emotionalism out of journalism. Just give us the facts. We don't tell us how we're supposed to feel. That's why I go to therapy, to talk about how I feel. I don't want you to tell me how I feel. Just give me the facts.
And nobody wants to listen to the media. And next thing you know, we're panicking for things we shouldn't be panicking for. They're creating the chaos. Dr. Knowles, man, I appreciate you, man.
That's called a Jedi mind trick.
The Jedi mind trick. That's what it is. Dr. Knowles, I appreciate you so much. I want to give you your flowers while you're here. You've done a lot for the culture. You're a staple to a lot of people. I want you to know that everybody's listening to this live right now, no matter where they're at. We truly appreciate you, not only for what you've done, but also what you've left us and what you continue to give us. That's knowledge, that's people, that's a lot of wisdom. And I appreciate you tonight hopping on this IG Live, sharing your thoughts on coronavirus. And I'm sure this episode is going to impact so many more people out there.
Well, thank you, Shawn. There's something about your spirit that is engaging. You're a good man. And I want to thank you for giving me this opportunity. Tomorrow or the day after, we'll be launching a first project from Music World Film and Television. It will be a PSA about coronavirus. And so, folks, you'll find out about it. Share it when you get it, how we can save our lives, which is the most important thing right now. How we get through this together is the most important thing right now. We don't need negativity. We don't need that now. We need people to have hope. But to be honest, that change is okay. To modify and alter is okay. And not to feel like it's going to be a terrible bad thing. And I know young people are going through it. They want to get back out. But guess what? This might be the most valuable lesson in your lifetime. And if you don't experience these things in life, how can you ever get better? How can you give wisdom without experiencing something? So embrace this. You'll look back, you'll be a better doctor, a better attorney, a better entrepreneur, a better wife, a better husband from going through this. So just remember.
Without a doubt.
Thank you so much, Shawn.
I appreciate you, man. If you have anything, you got my number. Reach out, and I'll show you how to do a lot of those things you need to learn how to do on this IG Live.
You got to teach me. I know one thing. I know how to hit X. Bye.
Peace.
Yo, what you think? I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I want to know what you learned. So if you wouldn't mind, would you take a screenshot of you listening to the podcast on your phone right now? Upload to your Instagram stories, tag me at ShawnRAnthony_, and then let me know in that Instagram story what is one thing that you learned. I love hearing from you, my listeners, thought leaders, former or current students all around the world. Let me know, and while you're doing this, go inside the podcast app, subscribe, leave a 5-star review, and a 5-star rating. Again, this helps us reach more people. And if you want to be a part of this mission, helping us change the world one person at a time, it makes a massive difference by you leaving a review. Thanks so much. I'll see you next week. And remember, dream it, believe it, go out and get it.